Welcome to section 1.4, Integers and Absolute Value. Go ahead and complete the warm-up on your Cornell notes. Our objective for today is to learn to compare and order integers and to evaluate expressions containing absolute value. Our essential question, how do I use a number line to determine absolute value? Vocabulary that we'll need to know for this lesson includes integer, opposite, additive inverse, and absolute value. Integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. So think of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of the opposites, which are also called additive inverses, but those are numbers that are the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides of 0 on the number line. So for example, the opposite of negative 2 would be 2, and the opposite of positive 4 would be negative 4. So remember, if you see the term additive inverse, it also means opposite. Let's refresh on some symbols that we've used in the past. We have the less than sign, greater than, equal to, and a new one for us in the bottom right-hand corner are the two vertical bars, which represents the term absolute value. So let's look at a number line and make sure that we can put some numbers in order. List the numbers in order from lowest to highest. We have scores of -4, 2, 5, and -3. On the number line, the lowest number would be on the left, which is -4. The next one over is -3. Further to the right is 2, and the highest number is 5. So remember, a number line works the lowest on the left, the highest on the right. Use less than, greater than, or equal to compare the scores. Fran's score is -2, and Joaquin's score is -3. So if we put these numbers on a number line, we can see that -3 is further to the left than -2, which means that -3 is less than -2. Let's find some additive inverses. Remember, we said additive inverse means the opposite. So find the opposite or additive inverse of 6. Well, that would be the number that's the same distance from 0, which would be -6. The additive inverse of -14 would be the number that's the same distance from 0, and that would be +14. We could also do this for decimals, and the number that's the same distance as 0.5 from 0 is -0.5. Let's get to absolute value. A number's absolute value is its distance from 0 on a number line. Absolute value is always positive or 0 because distance cannot be negative. The absolute value of -4 is written as two vertical bars with -4 inside of it, as seen right here. Additive inverses have the same absolute value. Okay, so what does that all mean? Picture a number line. If you're at 0 and you walk to the number 4, you've walked 4 units. If you're at 0 and you walk to the number -4, you've still walked 4 units. It does not matter if you're negative or positive, because when you measure distance, we always measure it in positive units. Think about the last time you've ever measured yourself for your height. You would measure it positively. If you measure out a race, you would measure it in positive distances. Even if you ran laps back and forth, coming back to where you started would not be a negative distance. You're still traveling a positive distance. And additive inverses have the same absolute value. That means that the absolute value of 4 is the same as the absolute value of -4 because they're both 4 units away from 0. On your notes, draw a picture of how to measure absolute value on a number line. I'll go back to the previous slide to give you an idea. Okay, let's give it a try. Simplify each expression. So the absolute value of -8 plus the absolute value of -5. Well, the absolute value of -8 means how far away is the number -8 from 0, and that would be 8. And the absolute value of -5 would be how far away is -5 from 0, and that would be 5. So really, we are simply adding 8 plus 5 to get 13. Sometimes, like in example B, the bars will be around a whole numerical expression. So they act like parentheses where we do what's inside first. So first we take 5 minus 6, but we have not yet applied the absolute value. Now we measure absolute value of -1. And -1 is 1 unit from 0, so the answer is 1. Let's try another one. Absolute value of -2 is 2 steps away from 0, so that would be 2. Absolute value of 9 is 9 steps away from 0, so that would be 9. 2 plus 9 is 11. Example B. We notice we have 1 minus 1 inside the absolute value bar, so we do 1 minus 1 first to get 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0 because 0 is 0 units away from 0. Now what happens if we have a negative on the outside? We do the absolute value of 5, which is 5, and this is like multiplying by -1. So we get an answer of 5 times -1 gives us a -5. That's all we have to cover. Make sure your Cornell notes are filled out completely. Review your notes and complete the summary before class, and come prepared to take a formative, non-graded lesson quiz on how well you understood the material.